So with all the different camera companies out there trying to dominate the mirrorless camera market, choosing the right one may seem a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're on a budget. But don't worry, because in this video, I'll be discussing 7 of the best budget mirrorless cameras, and we'll be going over both the strengths and the weaknesses of each camera, so that you can make the right decision for your particular shooting style. And if any better cameras come out after I drop this video, I'll try and remember to update the links in the description below. So coming in at number 7, we have the Sony ZV-1F. The image quality of this camera is impressive, but it's not quite as good as the other cameras on my list, mainly because it has a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor, whereas the rest of the cameras have larger APS-C sensors. But the reason it made it on my list is due to the fact that it's powerful, compact, and affordable, coming in just under 500 bucks. It's also the only camera on my list that has a fixed lens as opposed to interchangeable lenses. And while that might be a limiting factor, it does mean you don't have to spend any extra money on lenses. The 20mm f2 fixed lens makes it a suitable camera for vlogging. It can shoot crispy 4K video up to 120 frames per second for buttery smooth slow-mo. The eye autofocus is next level, as you would expect from Sony. The fully articulating screen makes it great for video shooters. And although it can take some decent stills, it's more of a video-centric camera. That's why it doesn't have an EVF and can't shoot raw photos, only JPEGs. All in all, if you're looking for an affordable and compact camera that's decent at photos and great for video, then this is definitely worth the look. Next we have the Canon R100. This is Canon's most affordable RF mount camera, which comes in at about 379 bucks for the camera body and about 500 bucks if you get the combo that includes the 18 to 45mm kit lens. It's priced pretty closely to the Sony ZV-1F, but the fact that it has a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor and interchangeable lenses makes it a better option in my opinion. It also has an EVF and can shoot raw photos, making it a better stills camera. The fact that the screen doesn't rotate or tilt and that the eye autofocus works in 1080 but is disabled if you use 4K makes this a camera that's better for those who mostly take photos and occasionally shoot video. Although I think both the Sony ZV-1F and the Canon R100 are great cameras for those that are on an extremely tight budget, personally, I'd recommend saving another $200 or $300 and picking up one of the cameras I'm about to tell you about, because the return on investment in terms of quality and capability is pretty massive. Coming in at number 5, we have the Nikon ZFC. This is a retro-inspired 21 megapixel APS-C camera, mostly designed for street photographers and other shooters that like tactile buttons and dials. It's priced just under 1,000 bucks. And while it's a very capable camera, part of what you're paying for are the stylish looks. It's reminiscent of those old school film cameras, so if that's your thing, then this is a great option. It can shoot 4K video up to 30 frames per second and can shoot 120 frames per second in 1080. It has an EVF and a fully articulating screen in case you want to vlog or take low-angle shots. It also has interchangeable lenses, which is great, but Nikon's lens selection isn't as vast as other companies. And the autofocus, while decent, isn't as good as Sony or Canon. That being said, this camera does look amazing and offers very good photo and video quality. Next we have the Fuji X-T30. And although this is a few years old already, it's still a great camera, which you can pick up for about 870 bucks. Fuji is known for its amazing colors and its stylish camera bodies. Considering those things, I think the X-T30 is a great budget mirrorless camera. It has a 26 megapixel APS-C sensor. It also has an EVF and the screen does tilt, but it isn't fully articulating. The build quality is quite nice and it has plenty of cool buttons and dials. The X-T30 can shoot 4K video up to 30 frames per second and 120 frames per second in 1080. But where Fuji cameras really stand out are in the photo department, mainly due to their various film simulations, grain effects, and custom recipes. Fuji has a wide variety of high-quality lenses to choose from, so no issues there. But keep in mind that the autofocus on this camera isn't close to what you get from Sony or Canon. But if you're mostly into stills and looking for a well-built, stylish camera with tactile controls, then this would be a decent entry into the Fuji ecosystem. Coming in at number 3, we have the Nikon Z30. This is a 21 megapixel APS-C camera designed for content creators, vloggers, and videographers. It can also take decent stills, but keep in mind that it doesn't have an EVF. It does have a nice fully articulating screen though, so that's good. You could pick up the Z30 for about $850, including the 16-50 kit lens. If you already happen to have some Nikon lenses laying around, or you particularly like Nikon cameras, then this would be a great choice. But personally, I'd have a hard time choosing this camera over the next 2 cameras on my list. But before I tell you about my next pick, take a moment to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future reviews and tutorials. I appreciate that. Next on my list is the Sony ZV-E10. This is a 26 megapixel interchangeable lens APS-C camera. It's amazing for both videography and photography, mainly due to Sony's industry-leading autofocus system. It leans slightly more towards the video side of things due to the fact that it has a fully articulating screen but no EVF. It's one of the only cameras in this price range that offer a true log format, making it great for cinematic color grading and custom LUTs. And if you're not familiar with what a LUT is, it stands for lookup table. You can think of a LUT as a filter you add to your video to give it a stylized look. So for example, this is how the footage looks straight out of the camera, and this is how it looks with my teal and orange juice LUT. You can download my LUT pack and my Lightroom profiles for only $15 on my website, fullancreative.com. But getting back to the ZV-E10, I think if you prioritize video over photo, then this might be your best choice, especially considering you could pick it up for only $700, including the 16-50mm kit lens. Not to mention that the Sony E-mount has more lens choices than any other mirrorless lens lineup out there. I have heard rumors of a ZV-E10 II coming out in the future, and if it does, I'll add it to the Amazon links below. And that brings us to our number 1 spot, which goes to the Canon EOS R50. This is a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor interchangeable lens camera. In my opinion, it checks most of the boxes for both photography and videography. It has an EVF and a fully articulating flippy screen. The autofocus is pretty neck to neck with Sony, and in some ways, it may be even a little bit better, although that's up for debate. The camera is compact and lightweight, while still having great ergonomics, making it very comfortable to hold and operate. The user interface, the menus, and overall experience are top-notch, as expected from a Canon camera. The only real negative about this camera is that it has a 1-hour record limit, whereas the ZV-E10 doesn't. Now that's not really going to be an issue unless you plan on recording podcasts, interviews, or anything that needs to be longer than an hour. So if that's the case, then I'd go for the ZV-E10. But if you're looking for an affordable camera that can shoot beautiful video and take amazing photos, then this would be my top choice. I left links in the description to all the cameras that I talked about, and the camera that you choose is important, but it's not as important as it used to be, especially with all the AI tools coming out as of late. And that's why you should watch this video next, where I tell you about some of the most useful AI tools for photographers, videographers, and other creatives. I appreciate you watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. It's Full Line Creative, and I'm out. Peace.